I came here to create another site of my Whirlwill project and found that the people were barely surviving with food and water issues. The oceans have risen, a drought has set in, shrinking rivers, drawing ocean salt water into waterways, into wells and rice fields. Women walk for miles to find potable water to bring back to their families. We started Women at the Well to try to help these villages to build good wells, desalination, and purification by placing bottles of contaminated water for 9 hours in the sun on 10 roofs. Even our small efforts have led to the creation of a few new wells that bring life to the gardens and food to families. Most village women work so hard and now have the opportunity to go to new schools that have sprung up to help eliminate illiteracy. In gratitude that someone came and asked, "What are your problems?" The villagers drew us into friendship, dancing and singing, saying, "This is your home." I began working in villages in 1986, creating environmental stone sculptures and ritual theater as a way to bring peace and understanding between countries. I work in collaboration to address our deepest social and ecological concerns. My hope is to activate the awareness of the interconnectedness of all life. I began a journey that was prompted by a dream to go around the world and live in many cultures, carrying on my work as an artist. I saw myself creating stone carvings in wilderness areas in many different lands and involving the local people in some theater piece or ceremony. I wanted to go back to the origins of art, when sculpture and theater were not a commodity, but were a natural expression of the struggles and solutions of the community. I felt the dream was showing me a way to bring peace and understanding into the world through the arts. I didn't know how to begin until one day I was looking at a world globe and put my finger on California and turned the globe, keeping the same parallel, and I realized at that moment that this was the circle of my dream. When I left to start my pilgrimage, I sold my car and the few possessions I had and began really as a homeless person. Having visited the Seneca Reservation many times in the past, I was invited by an elder to stay and work there. I carved the sculpture Unity that had 4 faces pouring out of the 4 cardinal directions, with a spiral at the top uniting all humanity. We gathered large vines that grew in the forest and made wheels that hung between trees. We had a ceremony performance in the forest. The elder Twyla Nitch told the Seneca origins of life. We enacted out the peacemaker's life as a solution. He was a young man who lived 500 years before Christ and brought the warring nations of the eastern United States together in peace. Our Constitution is based on the Iroquois Confederacy. In each country, I looked for our community's answer to 3 universal questions I ask. What is our essence? What is our problem? What is the solution? The answers inspired the sculptures and performances that became a part of the community and created a dialogue through the arts. I lived with Palestinian families and Israeli families, and their children planted a tree of peace in a circle of stone sculptures that we carved together. And the children's answer to the solution was, if we understand each other's cultures and can see through the eyes of the other person, we will have love for them. I took a train to Shantiniketan. On this train, I could hear folk singers in the distance. When they came to my compartment, I kept giving them coins so that they would keep singing. They were the Baal minstrels, and they invited me to their village. They found a hut for me to live in. A few days passed, but I couldn't see myself creating a sculpture. They had beautiful village sculptures. Then I realized the children didn't have a schoolhouse, and many of the wandering Baal minstrels didn't have a place to live. I was offered a space to create a community house. I started working, mixing the adobe with my feet. Every day, people would pass on their way to work and stop and say, "Oh, you don't do it that way, you do it this way." Together, we built a place where the village could gather in ceremony. Children could study, and the Baals could practice and teach their music. We arrived at Shoto Tirdrum, a valley at 16,000 feet and very sacred to the Tibetan people, where Padmasambhava, their most renowned teacher, and Yeshe Shojal, his consort, had lived and practiced in caves for many years. There is now a cave hermitage with 70 nuns. I found a cave that wasn't being used and started going there every day to meditate, and was given permission to carve a sculpture. I wanted an image that did not represent Buddha or a Christ figure, but was the illumination and openness and connectedness that is in each one of us and is our birthright. I didn't know what the nuns would think because it wasn't a traditional Buddhist image. 2 nuns were walking down the canyon and saw me working. They came over to the cave, and when they saw the image, tears filled their eyes, and they threw themselves down on the ground in their traditional full-length prostration. Afterwards, they invited me to their cave, and for hours shared with me their spiritual practices, which was their most precious possession.